On the next page, check the title. We've covered that. You should order a title search. You do not need a title policy for anything we're covering this weekend. You do not need to buy title insurance. It's pretty much a waste of money when you have no risk. Title insurance could cost you $1,000, $2,000. You do not need it because you're not spending any money and you're not risking anything. You don't need to buy insurance to cover you for no risk. If there's a title problem, you'll find it with the title search, not title insurance. And you can order it. If I were you, I would find somebody to do the title searches for me, as we do, and produce you an abstract, which is nothing more than a written description of what is on the title. It's actually a copy. It's a copy of the deed, it's a copy of the mortgage, it's a copy of anything that's recorded on the title. And they'll go back, I don't know how far they go back, probably 20 years. But you think about it, there isn't that much that's been done on a property in 20 years. It might have been sold 3 or 4 times. There might have been a few mortgages created on it, but it ain't that big of a pile. All right. The most common mistakes when dealing with sellers are listed right there on page 104. I'll run down them quickly. When would I allow you to personally guarantee a lease? The answer is never. And I want to make sure you're all clear on that now. If you sign your name at the top of that lease, it's the same as signing your name on a note for however many months you said you're going to lease that property for. And it's even more important that you do not put your name at the top of that lease when you're doing one of these 10-year leases on one of these AX deals. Yes, I know you're going to get a general release when you flip it. But if your name is not up there at all, then there can be no way anybody can ever hold you personally liable for those payments in case something goes wrong in your general release. So don't put your name up there, period. So if you're going to lease option properties, you need an entity. You probably are going to get an LLC. And what's the LLC going to own? Air. Now, if I lease option this property, if I put my LLC's name at the top of this lease agreement, and I am going to stay in this deal, does that LLC now own something? Yes, it owns that option to buy that property. So it does have some asset. So if that bothers you, then you can assign your lease option agreement to whatever you want to assign it to. But frankly, I don't. I just leave it in the LLC. Worst case, somebody wants to come attach the option that LLC owns. Chances of that are extremely remote, so it's not even probably worth you worrying about. And guys, sometimes we grossly overdo this asset protection stuff. I see some people out there just laying in bed at night, worrying about, fretting about, protecting my assets. Well, what do you got? Well, nothing, but in case I ever get something, I want to make sure I protect it. I mean, I need all this asset protection done before I go get a deal. No. Why don't we get some assets? Then we'll worry about protecting them. How's that? And I'll put you in front of Lee Phillips, and he will further that conversation for you, and we'll take you as far as you want to go. Do you guys know we have a 2-day event taught by the Anderson Law Group on asset protection, entity structure, tax reduction, and estate planning? Yes? Okay, if that's bothering you, you should get to that. And then you should hire the guys to do your pile of paperwork for you, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a cool thing when you go to bed at night and know if they come after you, they're not getting across the moat into your castle. And you all should be thinking about that. And the more stuff you own, the more prone you are to attack. And the more you get, the more prone you are to attack. So you should put yourself in a position to where if you get attacked, you do not get wiped out and taken off the planet. And you will sleep better knowing that they're not going to get your marbles. And I'm telling you, that ain't nothing but a stack of papers. And if you get the right people doing the paperwork for you, you don't worry about your marbles anymore. And you will learn to not put your eggs in one basket, and you will learn what strategic moves you need to make in the state where you live to keep the predators off your door. And some of you need to think that through more seriously than others right now. And just for the record, if you're in the middle of a mess, it is not too late. And if you want to talk more about that, you can see me in person. So never personally guarantee a lease. Do not repair houses that we do not own. And we do not agree to make payments that we cannot afford unless we know very well how those payments are going to get covered. And we do not agree to make big payments on houses unless we get large equity in exchange. Spending too much time on small deals. You have a choice. You can spend the same amount of time and resources making more money, or you can make less money. For you to do a deal that makes you $2,000, in my opinion, is a waste of your time, because that $2,000 probably cost you $10,000. And there's only so much you can do with the time you have allotted and the resources you have available to you. And if you're constantly focusing on the small money, that's all you will ever get. If you're focusing on the large money, and small money comes from time to time, okay, that's a nice byproduct, but pretty soon, if you're focusing on that small money, that's exactly what you structure your business to get, is the small money. You get what you attract. You get the crop from the seed you plant. Not pre-screening sellers properly is a mistake most people make coming in on the front end. Waste too much time with dead ends. If you watch me pre-screen these leads, you know that in a nanosecond I can tell you whether it's a suspect or a prospect, assuming I have the proper information. And if I don't have the proper information, I expect to get the proper information, and I will not try to make a decision when I'm in a cloud. And if you don't get the proper answers, you're always in a cloud. And then you're trying to make decisions with not enough facts. Trying to deal with unmotivated sellers. They're either motivated or they're not, and you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Number 8, leasing houses that aren't suitable for a fast sale. Look, if your senses tell you that you're never going to get this house sold, your senses are right. Why spend all your time and resources trying to sell a house that is totally unsellable? You know, if it smells like a paint factory, you ain't selling it. We got a place like that in Jacksonville where we used to have a paint factory. You go in that whole area, oh, it's ungodly stench. It smells like we got a brewery on the north side of town. Whew, smells like boiling peanuts all the time around that thing. If you're next door to a gas station, going to be hard to sell. If your house is extremely small, going to be hard to sell. If it's functionally obsolete, and guys and gals, you don't need to know what that means. You'll know it when you see it. It'll be readily apparent, functionally obsolescence. And don't agree to make payments on an option. We don't make payments on an option. And don't make promises you can't keep, and then keep the ones you make. Be careful what comes out of your mouth, because someday you might actually have to deliver on that promise you shouldn't have made. And if you learn not to make them, you will not have to deliver on them. And there's promises you're going to feel like making them because you want the deal done. Well, when will you pay off my loan? I don't know. I don't know. I'll make the payments until then, but I don't know. Will you personally guarantee this? No. Why? Because I don't want to. I choose not to. Because my wife will kill me. I don't care what you use. You don't need an excuse. Just no. I choose not to. Okay, don't work with a short fuse. Negotiate plenty of time before rent is due. And don't assume that just because it's you and because it's a nice house and because you just got out of a seminar, you're so smart that everything's going to work out the way you plan. Does it work out the way you plan? Almost never. Does sometimes it work out better? Yes. Does sometimes it works out nowhere near the way you plan? Murphy lives here. Therefore, the more time you have in those cases where you're obligating yourself to make a payment, the better you're going to sleep, the better you can play the market, the more money you can get down from your market because the more time you have to play the market, and the less pressure you have on you, and the less risk. So when I'm negotiating a lease purchase that I intend to stay in, I want more time than when I intend to flip it out. If I intend to flip it out, I'm never obligating myself to make payment anyway. But if I intend to stay in it, I am obligating myself to make a payment. And if you'll notice, it's 3 months in my agreement. And frankly, if I can't find a tenant buyer to move in this house in 3 months, probably going to go back to the seller and say, I'm canceling this agreement. I didn't know this neighborhood sucked so bad. You didn't tell me that this was a gang area. I didn't know that. Huh? If I'm owner financing, I'm always going to get 3 months before the first payment is due. Always. I've never failed to do that. Residential or commercial, never failed to do that. It's just so easy to do it. Just build it right in the agreement. It's a condition of the purchase. Build yourself plenty of time. Okay? Now, are there any questions on anything we're covered, because we're about to get into selling houses? So everybody's an expert on agreements now, correct?